Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, so today, we did the actual session and went through the overview last month. And, we covered basically an overview on the sub side and also on the management side for the district. And it was an hour and a half video where we demoed, the entire application. I'm not doing that today. This is not the purpose of this. This is basically, you guys can, review that recording and kind of get a little more familiar with the application. Today is more of just an update on where we're at with the application. And so, what's changed since I think it was May 22nd is when we had that last session. And Justin and his team they've been releasing weekly for SubHub. So we've had a lot of updates made. So I just want to focus on, the major things that took place during each of those releases. I think we had 4 releases and we should have another one today. So I just want to cover what's happened in the last month and also what's coming on this next release. And then also, when we get closer to the end, I have a link that I did a recording of like the substitutes experience via mobile. I know it's kind of hard to show mobile, on a demo because we can't like flip back and forth on a phone via the phone to look at our email and then go into the application. And it just kind of makes it a little clunky when you're trying to demo that. So what we did is we recorded an actual demo. It's about a 15-minute, and it's for you guys. It's for the ITCs to review. But it shows you on the sub side, how they go in and receive a notification via email on their phone, how they go in and accept that via the link that's on the email, and then also how they go in and manage those openings, whether they want to cancel when they already accepted, or they don't want to get received for their notifications, how they set up their preferences in SubHub. So it's just basically a quick guide for the subs to get them a little more familiar. So I'll get into that in a little bit later. What I want to focus on now is just what's been happening here with SubHub in the last month. So just going in here again, like I just said, this is strictly focusing on changes since our last demo. And then this is just a quick reminder of the product overview. If you haven't even had a chance to really kind of dig in, if your ITC is not part of the pilot, you really haven't been able to be super focused on SubHub because it's fiscal year end and you have a million of other things to do, we totally understand. So that demo that we did in May will provide that overview. This is just explaining what the system does in a nutshell. So basically, in the SubHub, automates the matching ESS leave request that's marked as substitute needed with the available subs that are in SubHub to create a sub posting. It's basically what it's doing. So ESS is required, obviously, in order to use SubHub because it's pulling that information from ESS. USPS integration is optional, but definitely supported. So, if the district has to have those subs in USPS, then those subs can get synced in to SubHub. So there is an option underneath the substitute grid that allows them to sync with payroll, and it will bring their information over. So it's recommended to integrate with payroll because it just makes things a little bit easier. Plus, we'll have future enhancements that will be syncing with payroll information and being able to post to payroll directly. So it is definitely it's optional, but definitely recommended. We do use substitute list and list chains to drive those notification workflows. So when you think ESS, you've got the leave request workflow, approval workflow. This is basically a setup in SubHub where you're driving the notifications, how subs get notified of a particular opening. And that, again, is all explained in that May demo that we did. And obviously, the application is continuing to evolve during this pilot period. I'll talk about the pilot period here after we go through these release versions. But we're constantly making changes to it. So, and we're anticipating a lot of great feedback from the districts that'll be assisting us with the pilot. So lots of changes will be made throughout the year. Okay. This slide here is just basically going through all of the resources that we have available right now to you. We have our user manual and our substitute guide. We do have the SubHub new district checklist that gets you started on getting SubHub set up. Our May 22nd demo that I talked about, I have that referenced here, and the PowerPoint that went with that demo on the 22nd. In June, we just released our June newsletter last week, I think, and we had a feature article on SubHub in there. Basically it was targeted for the districts, so they're aware that, SubHub is available, and, we're currently going to be doing a pilot period, and just, basically telling them that we will keep them updated on how that's going. And also our June PowerPoint, which I just showed you, that link on our registration page where you can follow along with me, that's in there. And like I said before, we are planning to create some short demo recordings for the subs on how to access, view, and accept assignments. Try to make it as easy as we can for them so they know what needs to be done in order to assign an assignment to themselves. And here is just a brief snapshot of the issues that were involved in the last 4 releases, as well as what's coming up, I believe, today. I have another release going out today. So this is what we're going to get into and talk about these. So before we get started, any questions? Pull up my chat here. Okay. Let's get started. Let's dig into these. This first one here is our 4.0 release that went out about a month ago, right after, I think, on the 29th or 28th. And so what we did in SubHub at that time is we did improve the mobile view on the grid filters. We're constantly trying to improve the mobile side of things. So that was an improvement that we made. Some of these I won't demo. They're not needed to demo, but others I'll go into the application and show you. Also, the chain timers. This is a new option that we added, and this is under the system menu, under configuration. There's a SubHub functionality configuration. And so let me take you through that to show you what that does. So I'm going to go into my instance here. Oh, good. Still has me logged in. And I'm going to go into system, and I'm going to go into the configuration. So this is what we have out here right now. Make this a little bit bigger. And so this new one that was added was the SubHub functionality. So if I just view that, it by default has the chain timers enabled. And so what the chain timers mean is if I close out of here quick and go up to the substitute management and go to my substitute list chains, and I just have one for simplicity's sake here, and I'm going to view that. So with a chain timer really involves the sort order of the substitute list and the hours available. Now, we covered this in the demo back in May, but basically this is kind of the notification process that it's going to allow them to prioritize notification, and they want the notification of the available assignments to first go to those custodians underneath the elementary sub list, and they want them to have access for of the notification for at least the first 4 hours after it goes out. And then after that, then junior high subs for the junior high substitute list will get notified, and they'll have availability of that with the next 2 hours, get notifications. And then after that, it's the high school. So if a district wants this type of setup where it does prioritize this and sets, and notifies people at different intervals, they can. But if they don't, and they would just prefer each of these substitute lists to get notified at the same time, that's where they would want to turn off the chain timers. So when they do that, this part will be removed and the hours available will be removed. So I'm going to go back to my configuration and go into edit this, and I'm going to disable the chain timers and save that. And then if I go back into the substitute list chains and view the same chain, you'll see things have changed. So those priority sort orders and the actual availability of when you want to notify has been removed. So basically, the substitute list will all get notified at the same time. So we had requests from districts saying, I don't want to have to worry about that and setting up. It's not a need at our district. And so can we just remove that basically? And you can. So if you do disable this and then you realize, you know what, I want to go back to it, you can go back in and re-enable that configuration, and it will save, those settings that you had on here. So if I went back in and re-enabled this, again, the sort order would be the same and the same hours would be listed here. So it's not like you lost everything, that information is retained. But yes, that's basically what this configuration option allows them to do. The other thing that was on the 4.0 update is the ability to add both a PDF download and an export option underneath the substitute list. So I'm going to take you in there. Let me go back. And right now I'm in the list chain. I'm going to go up to the substitute list. And so what we did is we added this download and that exports this particular substitute list, and it's just in a PDF format. And we also added the ability to export all the grid items. So if I click on this one, it's going to include all 3 of these in a CSV file. So, and those are just the 2 options that we added there. So any questions about the 4.0 updates before I move on? Okay, the 5.0, we added a mobile view improvement on the usability of that substitute access button. And so it was just more like behind the scenes, made it a little bit easier to see exactly where a sub would log in to SubHub. So that recording that I'll talk about here at the end, the demo that I did, it will go through that and cover that. But it's just more of an improvement of how it looks like on the screen, so the sub can easily see how to access it on the actual SubHub homepage. The next one is adding the mass load menu option under system. So currently it's only able to mass load substitute list data. So I'm just going to take you to where that's at. Oops. So again, if I go to system, there's this mass load option right here. And like I said, currently the only thing we have available right now is to mass load substitute lists. And the import criteria on that is documented. We have that mass load chapter updated and the documentation with the criteria. So these are substitute lists. Substitutes, there isn't like a mass import for substitutes. I believe, most people will probably be using the syncing of the USPS substitutes from USPS, in which will automatically load those substitutes into SubHub. Let's see, what else did we do here? New fields were added to the substitute management substitute request. So let me take you into those. So the two things that were added is the ability to display either the position code or the position description. And that's based on a configuration setting. So I'll take you there. And also, to move that back over here, is adding the ability to pull in the sub comments from ESS. So I'll take you into those here. So I'm going into the substitute request. So if I just go in and just view one of these here, so you'll see that the position code is currently displayed here. Now we do have a configuration option that allows you to change that. And so if I close out of here and just show you where that's at, go to configuration. And it's the substitute visibility configuration. So if I want to show the actual position instead of the code, I can enable this. And then when I go in and look at that sub request, close out of there, it'll have the actual full position description in here instead. The other thing I was talking about were the substitute comments. Those will be added in here as well. So those start in ESS. So when the employee that needs that day off creates their leave request, there's an area on the leave request that's got a substitute comments box in there where they can, enter in instructions or anything helpful for the sub for that assignment for that day. And then, so what happens then is once that syncs with SubHub and you can see the sub in here, or the sub views the assignment when they actually, review it, it will list the details of what was in that substitute comment box. So that will get carried over and displayed here. Okay. I'm going to move on here. We did have some multiple bug fixes as well, but since the districts haven't started using SubHub yet, it's not, it probably isn't very helpful to go over those if you haven't been in the application. So we're just going to kind of skip over those bug fixes. They'll be more relevant once districts are using the application, and we can provide updates on bug fixes at that time. So that takes care of our 2026.5 updates. I'm going to move on to our 2026.6 updates. And as we move on, you'll see some more relevant information that's more impactful for the sub-management side and for the sub side. So one thing we added is a new option on versions release 6.0. An unfilled request option was added to the sub-management. So this allows on the district side to view or export any unfilled sub-assignments. So I'll take you to where that's at. So it's right here underneath the substitute management. And it shows you a grid of any unfilled requests so that you can go in and export that out if you need to, or if you need to filter. We have a bunch of ways to filter the information. I think most of the information's in here or is listed on the grid. Now we do have a future JIRA issue. I think it's sub 47 that's going to allow a job to be created automatically to generate and email this unfilled request report to the appropriate people, to the sub coordinator, district manager roles, so they can get notification of any requests that have not been filled yet. So, so that's what this grid does. And like I said, that future enhancement will notify people when you know, of unfilled assignments. Also, underneath here, under the substitute notification preferences, we are allowing, we have set it up where districts can, the subs, I should say, the subs have to opt in to receiving a text message. And so there is an option underneath the notification preferences where they have to actually go in and opt in. So it isn't enabled by default. So the email notifications are enabled by default for subs, but the text messaging is not. So when they do select to opt in, they're going to get a pop-up, and I wanted to show a screenshot of that pop-up because there's a lot of good information here that tells them what happens when they agree to receive text messages. And so the text message includes notifications on frequency regarding the following. So they're going to get notifications when new sub requests become available, when they accept a sub request, if they cancel a sub request, or the sub request was canceled on the ESS side. And that's this one right here, cancellation of original leave request from which the sub request was created, and reminders of upcoming substitute requests. So, that's what the text messaging is going to provide to them. So they can opt out of the SMS notifications at any time by updating the preferences. So I can take you to where that's at. Go in, and I'm going to log out as a district person and log in as a sub. So I'm just going to go into the sub access. It's probably going to take me through the verification process. And it will. So I just need to verify first before I can get in. Click on this end. And so this particular sub, when they log in, here is their notification preferences. It takes them to this section automatically. And so what I'm talking about is this option right here, receive SMS notification. Once they enable this, they'll get that pop-up. And at that point then, once they click and save their preferences, then they will get both email and text messages. Now they can turn off the email if they want, if they only want to receive text messages, or vice versa, or both. So that's basically what that will allow them to do. So like I said, by default, it is turned off. So they will have to enable that in order to receive text messages. Also, and I'm going to go right back in there, we have made the option of the blackout date to be now in a grid calendar view instead of in a grid view. And again, that's probably more for the mobile experience in order for them to see that information better via their phone. And so if I just go back in here again, here is the actual information about the blackout dates here. And so pull this up here. I think I have some in August. So I'm going to move my calendar. Yes, I've got some in August here. And so this particular substitute doesn't want to accept jobs during this blackout period. And so they can enter in a blackout start and end date and click add. And before we had a grid view, now we have a calendar view. It makes it easier for them to see that on their mobile device. Another thing that we did was allow subs to cancel accepted sub requests directly from the accept view. And I do show that in that recording of how a sub accepts an open assignment. And so, and I show an option of how they can cancel out of one in there as well. And it's nice because let's say I do go in and I accept a job, on my phone, and then I realize I didn't mean to accept that one. I meant to accept the one below it. They're already on that screen. They can just click on that job again, and I have a screenshot here, and select that already accepted position and click on that. And then there's a cancel selected option. And they just click on that and they will get a confirmation. Are you sure you want to cancel this accepted request? And they click yes. And then that request will go revert back to the pool of available job assignments. So it's a real easy way for the sub to cancel a job that they already accepted, either by mistake or they find out later that they cannot accept that job. They can log in and go to that particular already accepted assignment and cancel it. Okay, I'm going to go back here. The last update that was made on 6.0 was adding an acceptance trail on the sub request. So I'm just going to take you to one of those here. So let me get logged back in here. I'm going to log out of this particular sub and just log into the main page as admin. And I'm going to go to the sub requests. And let's pick on one of these. Pick on this one here. I'm just going to view this. And you notice that it says the status is canceled. So here's where, the basic info about the sub request. And here's this acceptance trail that we added. And so it just basically, kind of like we have the leave request approval trail in ESS, this is kind of the acceptance trail for subs, for the sub request. And so in here, it shows originally back on the 24th when it was synced with the leave request in ESS. And then a few minutes later, the sub accepted this assignment. And then we see here that the assignment was canceled. And it was canceled via probably the leave request on the ESS side. And it synced again, showing that it is now canceled and sub is not needed anymore. And so these are available on all the different sub requests that are listed here. So here's one where it's just pending. Nothing's been done yet. It's an unfilled. All it has done so far is just sync the leave request with SubHub. No one's accepted it or anything yet. So not a whole lot on the acceptance trail yet. Okay. So that basically is everything on the 6.0. Just getting you guys a little more comfortable with what's happening in the application since the last time we met. I want to move on to 7.0. And this is where we actually went in and added the SMS texting and messaging capabilities and notifications for the subs. Showed you how the subs can opt in, but this is where the texting was put into place on this release. Just some things to consider, if you, do go in and add texting to a sub. If you're doing any testing on it, you have to be very careful because there's a fee for every text that is completed and sent. So I just want to show you where all of that texting setup is done. So I'm going to go back into the application here, and I'm going to get out of this one. And I'm in the admin here. So where that is enabled, because you have to enable texting first in the system is under the configuration. So I'm going to go under configuration, application configuration here first. And I just want to explain that it has to be a production instance type, and the external notifications have to be enabled. So if you're doing testing, it's not going to be working for any type of support instance. It would have to be like a production instance in order for the texting. And this is part of the setup. In order for the texting to work, and the external notifications need to be enabled. So the other thing that is a must in order for this to be done is underneath the configuration, there's also an SMS configuration. So obviously this has to be enabled in order for texting to work. And so these two things need to be set up. And once they are, the only other thing that needs to be done is on that sub that you may be testing with is to opt in for texting. So once those are set up, then you do have texting turned on. So, again, you need to be really careful about that if you are trying to test something like that. I haven't tested it yet, just because, I just kind of want to get a better handle on it first before I actually go in and try it out. But like I said, there is a fee involved with that. So, and if if you do go in and try that, please revert it then afterwards and turn that back off so that texting is disabled. Also with that, we do have, I think it's on here we go, test SMS too. Just like we do with email, test email, we have that, and we also have that in the other applications as well. ESS has this where you just want to test the email or test the texting first to make sure that it is sent. There is a way to do a test SMS as well. So those are kind of the new options that were added to enable texting. Any questions on that? One other thing we did is we renamed, there was a reject all when a sub no longer wants to receive additional notifications about a job that they don't plan on accepting. We didn't care for the reject all button. We wanted to clarify that a little bit better, so we changed that to mute notifications. And you'll see that again on that demo, how a sub can go in, and if they do not want to receive further notifications about a particular job, they can mute those notifications. It makes a little more sense, and it clarifies what that option does. Also, underneath the documentation section, we did update the icons in there. If I go back and I'm logged in as a district person, if I go underneath help and documentation, it will provide an external link for me to view the substitute user manual. Now, if I was logged in as a sub and I go to help and about, it's going to provide them the substitute guide, so they won't see the user manual. So we tried to make that a little bit easier and not so confusing. When they come in and they want to read up on the documentation, they go to the one that makes the most sense for them. So that's the last update that we did on 7.0. And then coming up, before we get into 8.0, just some other related changes that were made. There weren't any in this last month, I don't believe, for payroll, but at ESS, we did make a couple changes in there that's related to SubHub. The second one is the one I already talked about regarding the substitute comments. If they enter substitute comments on the leave request, those are now included underneath the corresponding comments on the SubHub request. I showed that to you guys just a little bit ago. This first one, this allows users that have access to the View District Leave and the Sub Coordinator grid, so those that have those roles, they will now see columns and options for tracking the SubHub leave request syncing between ESS and SubHub. So this is on the ESS side. And I'll take you in there. I think I have an ESS. I do. Just go into the admin. And if I go down to leave requests and I go to view district leave, what I'm referring to is, for one, we have a SubHub sync status column that can be added to the grid, and that's basically going to let the the user know that whether if this was a sub needed leave request, whether it's synced to SubHub, whether it failed, and obviously the non-applicable means that this was a leave request where sub needed wasn't enabled. So they can see that right away if there are ones that failed, and they can filter on those. I don't know if I have any in here or not. I don't, but that's what it will do. If they do encounter a failed one, they can use this resubmit to SubHub to try to resubmit it. And if it still doesn't work, then they will be able to see that error as to why in the app log. So you would have to go down to the system and go down to the app log and find out if you just attempted it again and it still failed. The app log's going to show that error right away, and you'll be able to view that and see what's going on and try to debug the situation. So it could be maybe that there isn't a sub list available for it to sync with on the SubHub side, or some other issue as to why it didn't sync. I believe we have some enhancements too. I think there's going to be a notification that they get notified of that as well. I'm not 100% on that, but they will at least be able to view that error in the app log and determine what's going on. Let's see. And those, I think, were the only related issues that were done in ESS in regards to SubHub. And that was done here this last month as well. And the next thing I want to talk about is what's coming up here on this next release. For one, our support team had found some issues with the sorting not working correctly on the grids. You're on one of the grids, you're trying to sort by name or something like that, and it's just not coming up and sorting correctly. So the developers made sure that they went out there and looked at all the grids and made sure that the sorting was working correctly. So that'll be on the next release. The failed syncing of leave requests, which I just talked about, they updated that to throw an exception instead of logging an error. And the big difference there is that logging an error isn't, there wasn't any way for you to tell that it was failing. And we added those features with, syncing to SubHub to see the failed and the, successful syncs. But we also are now throwing an exception, meaning that you can go into the app log and see the error in there. So before that wasn't showing on the app log, so we updated that. So that will show then that there is an error, and then you can, from there figure out what's going on. We've also improved it that if two subs are trying to accept a request at the same time, the sub who do not get to the request first is going to receive a message saying there was an error processing your acceptance. Some selected requests are no longer available. So it's, telling them someone else took it before you, you're no longer able to access that leave request or that sub request because somebody else has taken it. And this last one here, when accepting a SubHub as a substitute, that accepted substitute request view has been replaced with the calendar view. So let me show you what that looks like. Again, this is kind of for mobile purposes. And so if I go in and actually log back in as a sub, And I have to go through my verification. Ran out of time, so I'll go through my one-time passcode verification real quick here. Here's my code. Copy that, paste it in, bring this over. So underneath here, we have the notification preferences that we just talked about a little bit ago, and then we changed this. I think it used to say substitute requests, and now it's substitute calendar. And so again, it's better in mobile view that they can easily see the requests that they have accepted for this district. So, and this is like a district by district case, right? Because you are logging into the district SubHub application. You know, one thing that we stress is that when substitutes accept the assignment and they get that email saying that they accepted the assignment, there's a calendar link that they can add that sub-assignment to their personal calendar on their phone. Or, you know, the personal calendar on their, you know, email. That way then, you know, if they are accepting assignments from various districts, all of those assignments are in one spot on their personal calendar. You know, they can't do that from here. This is only going to show them the assignments that they accepted for that particular district. But in here, you know, it's a nice calendar view. They've got different options, monthly, weekly, all assignments for that year. So I'm just going to leave it on the monthly, and then when I click on that assignment, it will take me to that particular assignment where it says that I obviously already accepted it. And if for some reason I do need to cancel it, I can at this point. If there were other assignments, let me go back and see if I can find one, other assignments. So here is one where I accepted the first one, but I did not accept the other two. And I'm not planning on it, and I don't want to get any further notifications about it. I can select these two and select mute notifications, and I will no longer get further notifications about these two. So yeah, so there's, you know, different things that the sub can manage in here when they're logged in. So that's some of the updates we made there. The other thing that is coming up that I can't show you because I don't think it's on my version of the application yet is there's going to be a notification log underneath the substitute request menu option to keep a running track of notifications related to that. So that's this area down here, which I think is really nice because it, you know, basically shows when those notifications went out regarding that actual sub request. So that's going to be on the next release as well. Okay, that's kind of in a nutshell what has happened. Actually, I guess you can call that kind of a recap session, right, of what's happened in SubHub so far. We're planning on adding SubHub to our recap, our monthly recaps, once we get rolling, you know, after this pilot kickoff gets started. But yeah, that's kind of what I showed you is kind of a condensed recap on SubHub since we started the early access release. This next slide just talks about the pilot kickoff. The timeline, it will launch on July 2nd. That aligns with our SubHub releases on a Friday or Thursday, I think. I think we have that Friday off for the holiday. And the pilot is going to run through the year. The pricing for those that volunteered, there's no charge during the pilot year. A survey was sent out back in early May to the ITC directors from the Management Council asking for volunteers to be on the pilot. There are 9 districts representing 5 ITCs that will be involved in the pilot. Non-ESC users were the ones that were eligible. We don't have the game plan set up quite yet for ESCs, so that is something that we are definitely working on here. We're working on forming a group to enable like a multi-district management with separate logins for ESCs. So that's going to be something that they're going to be working on here this summer. So obviously anyone that signed up for the pilot right now are non-ESC districts. There is a kickoff meeting, and that's scheduled actually today with those ITCs only that are involved in the pilot. So we will be having that this afternoon and just kind of talking through the initial, release, the expectations of the pilot, and so on. So that's what's going on later today. And there are going to be implementation options. That's what we're going to be discussing today. Are they doing a full cutover? Are they going to be doing dual processing with their existing platform? Are they going to be doing some type of hybrid where teachers are still using the old system, but their custodians are going to be using SubHub? So those are the things that are going to get ironed out for this pilot period. So exciting times here. Get started on this. I really appreciate the approach of how we're handling this with a pilot period, see how that goes, get the feedback from the pilots, and that'll only better enhance the software and those that want to come on later. So any questions regarding the pilot kickoff? The last couple of slides just talks about some major future enhancements. I won't go into all of these, but things that, are heavily requested that we do need to, get done sooner rather than later. I think an important one is the ability to split full day assignments into partial day requests. Right now, if I have a 3-day leave request, a sub can accept one of those 3 days or two or all three. But if a sub only can, needs to only wants to do the morning of one of those days, we don't have that capability yet. So that's definitely on our forefront, is to get that splitting of a full day assignment into partial days. Again, we're still continually enhancing mobile friendly, adding some of these new calendars like the blackout date calendar and the sub calendar so they can see things better on their mobile view. And, another one on down the line is the ability to extract and direct post into USPS. So some big things coming up. This next slide here, this is the video clip I've been mentioning throughout today's session. And this is a clip for you guys to review. But it's basically taking you in and just giving you an overview of the subs experience from, like I said, from the beginning where they accept it, and it's all via phone. I was able to kind of do a zoom of my phone screen and be able to flip back between, pulling up the assignment on my email, clicking on it, and then being able to rotate between that and the actual SubHub application. So it kind of just gives a demo of what it looks like on the sub side of things. So, it's a 15-minute video. So it's a longer video. I didn't want to go through it with you guys here, but I just wanted to provide the link. You should have access to it. If not, let me know. It's an unlisted video on YouTube. So the only way you can get to it is through this link. So once you review that, I think it just makes you feel a little more comfortable on what happens on the sub side. And, what we're going to do is provide shorter, focused video clips just for the subs, just demonstrating specific system functions, how to access a leave request, how to accept one, just shorter video bursts that, they can just look and reference that real easily. So we're just trying to come up with the best way to do that. If you guys have any feedback on that, I'd love to hear it. But with the pilot too, we're hoping to get some feedback on that as well. And just make it as easy as we can on the substitute side of things. So yes, enjoy that video. It is out there for you guys to review, and appreciate any feedback you guys have on the video. I think I'll try to click on it here just so we can take you to where it's at. So yeah, so this is basically it. And then, I just go in, and when I start playing it, it's going to provide, basically a screenshot of the phone and how to, maneuver around that. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Okay. Guys are a quiet bunch today. I know you're just kind of absorbing all of this new information, but I appreciate you guys hanging on, and hopefully you learned a little bit more as to what's been happening with SubHub this last month. We are doing another session in July. I'm not 100% sure yet if we're going to do a full-blown demo at that time. I think it depends on how many major updates we've made. This is after the pilot release pilot period has kicked off. So I guess it just kind of depends on where we're at with SubHub, and if we're going to probably do another full demo or if we're just going to provide some updates. So that is on July 17th. On that Friday. And also we will be demoing SubHub at OEDSA this year. So we will have a dedicated session on SubHub and school comms. Both of those will be there in the fall at OEDSA. So I think that's all I have for SubHub. Do you guys have any questions at all? Okay, well, I appreciate this, and I will get the recording out there. And like I said, the link is already available in that PowerPoint slide that I have. So please feel free to review this clip. And you guys have a wonderful day and a great weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.